WordPress has close to 60,000 free plugins that you can install, and then there's the paid ones on top of that. And I thought, instead of going through them one by one, let me show you 5 of my favorite WordPress plugins. And as we go, I'll be logged into my website to show you how they are working in my site right now. Some of these best WordPress plugins are free, and some of these will have pro versions, and I'll outline the pro features where I can throughout today's video. And all the links to these plugins will be in the description below. We'll cover each of these plugins at speed to keep this video concise. So here's the format we'll cover for each plugin. We'll look at what the plugin does with an example of how I'm using it in my website. I'll share what I like, and if there's anything I don't like. We'll cover pricing. I'll compare the free versus the paid plans and when I feel like you should upgrade. We'll look at the changelog activity and roadmap to help you gauge how confident you can be installing that plugin on your website or a client's website and know it's not going to be abandoned. And finally, a conclusion, outlining whether or not I feel like you should try the plugin based on the type of website you run. That's the intro. Let's get into the first plugin. The first plugin is Admin Columns and Admin Columns Pro. With over 150,000 installs, this plugin allows you to create your own columns in the admin area of your WordPress website. If I go to Posts and then All Posts, you will notice that I have some columns here that you won't have, such as Table of Contents, In-Post CTA, word count, shortcodes, internal links, external links, last modified, and status. As the manager of this website, these extra columns help me understand at a glance the state of all the posts in my website. For example, on my screen right now, I can see my WooCommerce checkout page like Shopify post has 1,200 words. And if I scroll to the right, I can see it was last modified today. So these columns have helped me identify that this post is in good standing. Also, these columns act as a checklist for publishing and maintaining my posts. If I know that I always want to be adding a table of contents block and a call to action block in every post, these columns help me ensure that I don't forget to do that before I hit publish. This plugin is very easy to set up for beginners. Go to Settings, then Admin Columns, then choose the entity that you wish to customize the columns for, then you're ready to start customizing your columns. If you click Add Column at the bottom, these are the types of fields you can create. And when you select a field type, the editor refreshes to give you further related settings. I found the range of fields that I can create very extensive. For example, word count is a field type, so I clicked a few buttons and had that in my admin area. And same with shortcodes, internal links, and more. This plugin also has a very well documented knowledge base, including all the actions and filters you can use. For example, you can see that my table of contents column and in-post CTA column show a check mark or a cross. The way that I am outputting these columns is using a filter I found in the knowledge base. Let's create a new column from scratch to show you how that works. I'll create a new column, set its field type to Gutenberg blocks, display to block structure, and click Save. And here is what this new column outputs with those settings. Then, using the PHP filter, we can check if a specific block exists in the list, and if it does, we output the icon. This is a very simple example of what's possible using what you can find in the knowledge base. But the main thing is that to find things in the knowledge base is very simple because it is well updated and not a second priority that you do sometimes find with other WordPress plugins. Using the settings screen and the knowledge base, you can pretty much create any type of column that you would need with quite complex logic and functionality. Admin Columns also makes editing your content easier. Just enable inline edit, and then you can edit the content of a post or a post type without having to click into the post itself, making updates much more convenient. This feature is also supported for image fields, such as the featured image. There is a free version with 100,000 active installations, last updated a week ago at the time of writing. Having a look at the paid version, a single site is $89, 5 sites is $149, and unlimited sites is $249. All pricing is per year. I have the single site license. I went straight to the Pro version, but this disclaimer here in the plugin repository page for the free version gives you an indication of what you do not get in the free version. It seems like the ability for filtering and sorting posts based on these columns is only available in the paid version, and that's a feature that I do actually use a lot. For example, here in my posts, I will filter all posts that do not contain a table of contents block, and then I can fix up the ones that I have missed it by adding it into the content. From a workflow perspective, it is an invaluable feature. Also, if you're using WooCommerce and you want to output some advanced custom field data, you will need the Pro version as per this. Admin columns looks like it's updated every 2 weeks or so, which is great. The roadmap, it doesn't look like there's a lot of changes planned, or I guess not publicly anyway. I think this page only lists the requests that are made from the community and not from the actual team, if I'm not mistaken. I'd recommend Admin Columns Pro to anyone that's managing a website where you need to update your content regularly. For example, a blog where blog posts are being added quite often and they need to be updated. I think if you create your website and you've added your content and you don't really log in there quite often and it's sort of just sitting there, doesn't need any updates, then a plugin like this isn't really going to be useful to you. And that will also be the case for a site that doesn't really have much content at all. If you want to be able to sort and filter your data based on advanced custom fields, or you have a WooCommerce store, then I definitely recommend taking a look at Admin Columns Pro. It will make managing your complex website faster and easier in the admin area. Plugin number 2 is FlyingPress. FlyingPress is a caching plugin for WordPress, meaning I use it to speed up my WordPress website. I used WP Rocket for the longest time, but since making the switch to FlyingPress, my website loads faster, has fewer issues, was easier to set up, and has a great community around it. The main thing here is that it makes my website load fast. If it didn't do that, then everything I'm about to explain wouldn't matter. Now, onto the plugin itself. Instead of going through each of the different settings, let me click through each of the settings pages now, and then I'll point out a few of the features I like that make this plugin my go-to for speeding up my website. What I really like about FlyingPress is that it seems so simple. Behind the scenes, what it's doing is really quite complex. But the way that the settings and admin pages have been simplified compared to other solutions on the market really does make FlyingPress really easy to set up and easy to manage. Now let's have a look at some of my favorite features that you might find useful. I like that from the dashboard, you can see the number of pages cached as the preload cache feature is running. It gives me the peace of mind that my site is in fact being cached. I also like that you can purge in different ways, including just the HTML cache, or the cache and all your static files like your CSS, JavaScript, and images. And this is great for my site because of the next reason. FlyingPress seamlessly integrates with Flying CDN. If you have a website like mine where people access it from all over the world, then you need to use a CDN, a content delivery network. Here's what a CDN does. Let's say that your web server is here and you have customers all around the world. When they try and access your website, they need to request things from your web server and get that back into their browser to be able to see your website. And if your customers are far away, that process can take quite a bit, so your website loads slow. When you use a CDN, parts of your website are duplicated to other servers around the world. And so when your customer tries to access your website, if they live over here, instead of having to go all the way to where your web server is and then get that sent back to their browser, they can access things from a server closer to them. So your website loads faster. One of the most popular CDNs to use is Bunny CDN. In fact, you might be using this right now. It's very affordable, but if you want to also optimize your images so that they load faster for your users, then you need to pay $9 per month to use the image optimizer feature. FlyingPress's own CDN offering is called Flying CDN, and Flying CDN is actually a white label for Bunny CDN. So when you buy Flying CDN, you are really buying access to the Bunny CDN network. But what's great about Flying CDN is that it costs $3 per month for 100 gigabytes of bandwidth, which will cover most people, and probably you too. So I signed up to Flying CDN, copy and pasted my unique CDN URL here into FlyingPress's settings page, and now all of my assets like my JavaScript and CSS files load faster for people who visit my website. And I also get the bunny optimizer making my images load faster too, for $3 a month instead of $9. And by the way, for those that are wondering, this is what the bunny image optimizer does to your images, and thus what will happen to your images as well if you use Flying CDN. It does dynamic cropping, so if you're using short pixel adaptive images, you don't need that anymore. Then it compresses your images into smaller file sizes, and then it converts all your images to WebP format, which makes even smaller file sizes for your images. And then it takes these optimized images and saves them into the CDN around the world for your customers to see when they visit your site. And the best thing about this setup is that all those optimized images are saved on Flying CDN's servers, aka BunnyNet's servers, and saved on those servers all around the world, not on your web server. And that's obviously great because on your web server, if you don't have these optimized images taking up space, your backup file sizes will be smaller. And knowing I use Flying CDN, that's why I really like this dashboard feature where I can choose to purge only my HTML files, which means my images and CSS and JavaScript files don't get purged and stay in the CDN to load faster. Or I can click this last option and purge my HTML and all the assets that are cached in Flying CDN. So if you have people from all over the world accessing your website, this is a neat, compact version offered by the FlyingPress Flying CDN company. More things I like about FlyingPress. On my website, I use Cloudflare APO, also known as Cloudflare Automatic Platform Optimization, which costs me $5 a month per website. And what it does is it caches the HTML version of my website and then saves it in the Cloudflare CDN all around the world. So with Cloudflare APO, I have the HTML files for my website cached around the world, and then all my assets and images are saved in the Flying CDN cache around the world, using the Bunny CDN network. And what's great about FlyingPress is that after I installed the Cloudflare plugin to enable Cloudflare APO on my website, when I clear my HTML cache here in FlyingPress's settings, it also purges my HTML cache in Cloudflare's cache. All with one click. This saves me having to clear a cache here and then go to Cloudflare and clear the cache there too. This is just one example of where FlyingPress on the surface seems very simple and straightforward. The settings page is, not overly complex, but behind the scenes, it's doing a lot more under the radar. Another thing that I like about FlyingPress is that under CSS, I found the remove unused CSS feature here much more reliable than WP Rocket's. And the process itself happens quicker than in WP Rocket, so you're not waiting ages for it to run and do its thing. There's a lot of other great features that I really like here in FlyingPress. I can't go through them all right now, but you would have got an idea of what's possible with this plugin where I showed you the different pages within the settings. It's $42 for a one-site license, and it goes up from there, which I think is fair. I own the 5-site license. FlyingPress does not offer a free version, but you are covered by a 14 days no questions asked refund policy. So if you want to try it and you're not happy, then at least you're covered and you're safe. It looks like there have been 2 updates each month going back quite a few months, so the plugin is very actively supported. I would also recommend joining their Facebook group, which at the time of filming has 2,500 members. You can learn a lot in there about speeding up WordPress, and you can also see people asking questions that will help you configure your site with FlyingPress. If you're looking to make a faster WordPress website, then I definitely recommend giving FlyingPress a go. It integrates seamlessly with all the different services that you're probably going to want to be using to speed up your website, such as Cloudflare and other CDNs, like Flying CDN, which is the one that I showed you in today's video. The next plugin is Media File Renamer. And this one might shock you, but it allows you to rename your media files in your media library. And I attribute my ability to write blog posts quite fast to a handful of plugins, including this one. So this one really speeds up my workflow. Let's go ahead and create a blog post, add some images and rename them, and in the process you'll get an idea of just how valuable this plugin is. On my screen right now is a new blog post I'm writing for my site. Here I'm explaining how I use a new app I found to write my YouTube video scripts faster and in a more organized manner. I'll take a screenshot of the script I am currently writing and then drag it into my blog post. and I'll keep writing a bit more, take another screenshot, and repeat this a few times. And when I'm done writing this blog post, but just before I hit publish, I'll go to my media library, and from this screen, you can type into this box to rename your image files directly, but what I like to do is open up each image in a new tab, write meaningful titles for each image, and when I click update, the title I've just given the image now becomes the file name of the image with hyphens in between the words. And what's great about using the title here is that I can now go back to my media library, search for a keyword, and images with that word in the title will show as results. And as a side note, if you like that feature I just showed you, make sure you go to Media Library, Renamer, Settings, and make sure this first setting is set to Based on Media Title. I don't have to rename my images before I import them into WordPress, and that allows me to write my blog posts a lot faster because of the following reason. Imagine the alternative. If I wasn't using this plugin, I would have to write my thought, then take a screenshot, think of what to name that image, rename that image, upload the image to my post, then remember what I was writing about, and continue. There's a lot of stopping and thinking about other stuff that isn't my blog post. With the media file renamer plugin, that isn't the case. I can write my thoughts uninterrupted and think of what to rename the images once my blog post is done and my train of thought is finalized. I also like that you have the ability to revert renamed images back to their original file names in case you needed to do that. And you can also lock your images so you can't accidentally rename them. There is a free version and a pro version starts at $29 for a one-site license, and increasing pricing plans as you see on the screen. In a clear manner, this table helps us distinguish what you get when you upgrade to the pro version. Looking at this table now, I think I could get away with staying on the free plan based on everything that I need, and I guess you probably could too. But this plugin saves me so much time that I feel wrong getting it for free, so I'll renew my one-site license again. I couldn't find a changelog for the pro version on the website, but if we check the free version, you can see it has 40,000 active installs, was last updated 2 weeks ago at the time of writing, and here is a changelog that shows us that this plugin is updated very regularly by the plugin author Joli. If you're somebody that just needs to create your website, add your images, and then leave it, then this plugin probably isn't for you. You may as well just rename your images before you import them into your website because you're not really going to be going back into your site. But if you are managing an active website where you will be adding images on a regular basis, then this plugin has been a savior for me and probably will be for you. Combine this plugin with the Happy Files plugin, which allows you to organize your media files into folders, and your media library will be neat and tidy, and finally not scare the shit out of you every time you click on it because of the mess you're about to see. It's time to look at Joli Table of Contents. And you can probably guess what this one does. It allows me to add a table of contents to my content in WordPress. But what shocks me is how I couldn't find anyone really talking about this one. I've been looking for a table of contents solution on and off for a very long time now. And if you throw any table of contents plugin name at me, the chances are I've probably installed it and played around with it. I even went as far as to code my own solution here using a custom block that I created using advanced custom fields. And this solution has worked very well for me. It's quite simple, but it does what I need it to do without the bloat of some of the other plugins that I tried. But now that I have found Joli Table of Contents, I will be removing my custom block and replacing it with this Table of Contents plugin because, well, it's just so sexy. Through the settings page, you can output your table of content in a lot of different styles and a lot of different layouts. Let me show you some of these now. To start, under headings, I will select to create my table of contents using my H2s, H3s, and H4s. Clicking on Auto Insert, I want to output my table of contents after the first paragraph and only for my reviews post type. Under Theme, I'll leave the smooth theme as it looks clean, minimal, and modern. And lastly, I'll activate the progress bar so my users know how far down the page they've scrolled. And on my screen is the result of those changes. And I actually already love how it comes out of the box like this, in 2 columns, looking sleek and fitting in well with the aesthetic of my website. And you can see the progress bar up the top animating as I scroll down the page. So you can achieve this table of contents quite easily for yourself by doing what I just did. As a note, in case you do not want to auto-insert your table of contents in the same place in each post or page, the plugin also registers a new table of contents block that you can drag directly into your page or post wherever you like. Now let's have a play, and I'm going to show you some of the other features that I really like about this plugin. You can add a CSS class to a heading block, and then in settings under headings, you could choose to exclude headings with that class in your table of contents. Currently, we are only outputting the table of contents by auto-inserting it after the first paragraph. Let's keep that on, but then activate the slide out table of contents. And here's what that looks like. And if we scroll the page, you can see the current heading is made bold, which is a great usability feature. And if we scroll the table of contents and click a heading, it scrolls us there on the page. Pretty cool. But you might have noticed the table of contents is very long. Let's go to headings, enable dynamic unfold, and refresh the page. Now only the top level headings show, and it is much more manageable. And as we scroll the page, the current heading expands to show us the subheadings. If we click on a heading, it scrolls us there on the page and expands the subheadings also. And as we scroll, the headings go bold. It doesn't get much better than that. I think this slide out feature will work really well for your visitors using their mobile phones, as it is a great way to show a large table of contents in a compact way appropriate for smaller screens. But wait, there's more. Check this out. I'll disable the slide out layout, activate the floating table of contents, click save, and reload our page. Now when we scroll the page, we see the table of contents that is auto-inserted after the first paragraph, and if we keep scrolling past this point, the floating table of contents now loads up the top. And as we scroll to new headings on the page, you can see the floating table of contents is updating in real time. And if we hover on it, or click on a mobile device, it expands to show the full table of contents. And if we click a heading, the table of contents closes and scrolls us to that section on the page. I love this layout, and I think it's a great choice for mobile devices. It's small and compact and easy for your visitors to navigate your content while on their smaller screens. Lastly, as per the docs here, Joli table of contents does not use jQuery, which I know a lot of people these days, including myself, like to see in a plugin. There is a free version of the plugin, and here is the pricing for the pro version. I'd recommend reading through the notes here on the free plugin in the WordPress plugin repository to see what you don't get in the free version. Just looking at this now, you will not have access to the better layouts for your table of contents, such as the floating layout, the slide out layout, or the sticky sidebar layout. And you also don't get the progress bar option. At the time of writing, the free version has 5,000 active installs and was last updated 2 months ago. Under the development tab, the changelog does not let us know how frequently updates are made. But if we click browse code and then into tags, we can get an idea of how often the plugin is being updated. From this, it seems like the plugin is 4 years old, with updates still being made. So I think this plugin is okay to use. One of the best things about this plugin is that if you insert the table of contents using the auto insert feature, or you use the floating layout or the slide out layout, if at any point in the future this plugin author packs up their bags and abandons the plugin, you can just disable the plugin and your website has no remnants of this plugin. I love that peace of mind, and you probably will too. If you have any pages on your website with a lot of content, you have to have a table of contents, especially with more and more people accessing your website from their mobile phone. Reading a long page on a mobile phone is frustrating, and adding a table of contents helps your users navigate your content easier and also helps them, at a glance, understand what they're about to read. So definitely check out this plugin. It's time to look at FunnelKit Cart. If you have an e-commerce website and you sell things using WooCommerce, then you definitely want to check out FunnelKit Cart. On the surface, it allows you to add a slide out cart to your store, which in itself has been very useful for my own website for a reason I'll mention in just a second. But it also has a lot of features that are very useful for increasing your sales. Using FunnelKit Cart, I don't have to create a WooCommerce cart page. This saves me time in creating my website and managing it. For my website, I am using Quickly as the page builder and theme builder of my website. And out of the box, the cart template doesn't exist. So I need to create one from scratch, or rather, I would need to create it from scratch, but with FunnelKit Cart, I don't need to. When my customers add products into their cart, the cart slides out, and then they can manage everything to do with their cart from within the slide out cart. Within the settings, you have the ability to output the cart icon at the end of your header menu, and that's a menu that you've created under Appearance and Menus. A second option, if you'd rather, is just to copy and paste this shortcode anywhere in your header, and that will output the cart icon too. And in both of these examples, when your customers click the cart icon, the cart slides out. And with that functionality in mind, I've got away with not having to create a cart page in my website, and you probably could too. When I'm buying stuff online these days, I find myself using Apple Pay or Google Pay where I can, because when I do that, I can complete my purchase faster because I don't need to enter my credit card details or billing or shipping details. I just tap a button on my phone and my order is placed in the store. With FunnelKit Cart, you can enable express checkout inside the cart. And with this enabled, your customers don't even have to go to your checkout page to buy your products. They can add products into their cart, the cart slides out, then they can click to pay using the express payment button from here in the slide cart. They tap a button on their device to confirm their payment with Apple Pay or Google Pay, and then their order is made in your store. Also, if I was buying from your website, I think this slide out cart is better than redirecting me to a separate page to show me my cart, as normally happens with the default WooCommerce checkout experience. Customers can add a product into their cart, stay on the same page, and then the cart slides out. They can then adjust their cart, close it, and continue shopping. It just seems easier to use without the redirecting and also faster. Worth noting too is that on a mobile device, your customers have the floating cart icon at the bottom, which if they click, the cart slides out. They can then review their order and even slide the cart out of the way and continue on the page they were on. If you're using your WooCommerce cart page in the traditional way, your customer would need to leave the page that they were on to adjust their cart and then click back in their browser to go back to the page they were on. I just think allowing your customers to be able to adjust their cart on the page they're on without having to leave it is a great usability feature. So that's what I like about the plugin overall, but now let's specifically look at the features I like that come in the Pro version. If you purchase the Pro version of FunnelKit Funnel Builder, you unlock some of the really valuable features here in FunnelKit Cart. Firstly, in-cart upsells. When someone adds your product into their cart, the cart will slide out and then show related products that your customer might like to add into their cart. And with FunnelKit Cart, you have the ability to set up that logic. For example, in this website, I will specify that when somebody adds my eyeshadow palette into their cart, I will show in-cart upsells for my mascara and also my eyelash curler. Both items a customer buying an eyeshadow palette might be interested in purchasing. Worth mentioning, this progress bar up the top here that incentivizes customers to spend more to unlock rewards is also a feature you get access to with the Pro version. Here's the settings screen, and it is very easy to set up. Pricing. As mentioned, there is a free version that gives you the sliding cart feature, and that's well worth giving a go. There is not a paid version of the FunnelKit Cart plugin itself, but if you purchase the Pro version of FunnelKit's other plugin, the Pro version of FunnelKit Funnel Builder, then that unlocks the Pro versions in this cart plugin. Maybe a little bit confusing, but their pricing page does do a good job of explaining it all. Changelog. At the time of writing, the changelog shows that it was last updated 4 weeks ago, and the plugin has 32 5-star reviews. Conclusion. As you might already know, I have been contracted by the FunnelKit team to create videos for their YouTube channel and other types of videos. Hence why my face is in the video posted here on the plugins page in the WordPress repository. But the reason we came together and I started creating content for them is that I was already using their plugins and I was very impressed with just how much of an impact they were having in my business. My business has come to heavily rely on the plugins released by the FunnelKit team. I use FunnelKit as my main CRM, as my email automation plugin, as my email marketing solution, as my WooCommerce upselling plugin, and more. If you want to streamline the checkout experience for your customers, then I would definitely recommend installing FunnelKit Cart and giving it a go. This video has shown you just a small amount of the plugins installed on my website that I rely on to run my business. But one thing you might be wondering is, what theme builder or page builder do I use for my websites? And why? If you want to learn about the best page builders and themes for WordPress this year, then definitely check out this video on the screen right now, where I review and compare some of the top ones available on the market right now that you might be considering using in your website. So I'll see you in that video.